what I've got is a couple of these disgusting Commodore 64 power supplies from back in the day. This is one I got from an eBay purchase. I've not actually tried this one yet, from a Commodore 64C with a nice bit of plug wiring. I thought we'd test these and see if they're still within spec. They probably weren't in spec when they were made, but hey, we'll find out. And I've also got another one, very similar, black one. This one was from the Commodore 64 that I had when I was a kid, and I've no idea if this one still works. Also, got this really janky old plug on it with a big crack in it, and it looks like it's not been wired in very well. Maybe I did that myself when I was like 7, I don't know. But I suppose I should check that first before I actually turn this thing on and blow myself up. This plug, I mean, this whole thing's probably like 37 years old or something, and the other one's probably 30. So I'm not expecting either of them to work correctly, but I just thought it'd be interesting to test them and find out if they're going to blow up a Commodore 64. Chances are yes, but we'll find out. First up, eBay purchase. Let's plug this in. And I've got the pin out on the screen. It has a 5-volt DC supply and it has a 9-volt AC supply. I think the 9-volt AC gets turned into 12 volts inside the computer to drive the tape drive and stuff like that. And I think the AC is also used to time the clock, which is why the clock would be different on an NTSC one. It's supposed to be 9 volts and the DC is supposed to be 5 volts, which gets fed directly to the chips. So if the DC is wrong, it will just blow the whole thing up. And I believe these things are quite a simple design with a resistor in. So I believe if the resistor starts to drift, chances are it's going to go high. So I'll test this one first. I think the 5-volt rail is the important one, but we'll see what they both are. I'm gonna have to do this off the camera just because it's tricky to hold this. I'm gonna hold it in between my legs. But between pin 2 and 5 should be those 2 pins close together at the bottom are the 5 volts, and the 2 at the top are the 9 volts AC. 5.23. Ooh. So it's slightly high, and I would say probably not usable. I wouldn't be using this. Not a 5-volt rail, and the other one 9.9. So the AC line's not that great. I don't know how tolerant it is to changes on the AC line. Maybe it's tolerant to 10 volts, but I think if there is some circuitry inside the Commodore 64 that maybe has to work a little bit harder than it would like, so maybe that gets a bit hot. But the power supply, yeah, that probably works, but am I going to use it? No. So next up is the childhood. Let's just see. I might have to check the plug on this first. Have a look at the dodgy wiring on this plug. This is absolutely ancient, this plug. Oh, 13 amp fuse, nice. Is this actually connected? Looks like it's connected. So it's just this strain relief that's not actually screwed in correctly for some reason. Is it broken? Yeah, it's broken. So that's not happening. Yep. 13 amp fuse as well, wow. I think there's a 13 amp fuse in the other one actually, I think I checked that. 5.1, is that good? 5.15. I'm going to spray some contact cleaner on it because it's maybe not making good contact. Well, that looks slightly better. It's hard to tell on the camera. It's a slight improvement. Let's just measure it again. Yeah, 5.15. So again, it's a little bit over 5, but it's probably usable. Oh, so it's over 10. So the 5-volt line is not too bad, but the 9-volt line is over 10 again. So again, it's probably making Commodore work harder than it should. Maybe. I assume that would work, but I'm not exactly sure. So the final result is that neither of these power supplies are really that good, and even if they were, you're taking a risk by plugging them in anyway. So the fact that they're both not producing the correct voltage would probably say no, not even for testing. So they go in the bin. For a bonus, I've got this Commodore Amiga 600 power supply that I got off eBay, which appears to be dead. I mean, it was sold as working. I plugged it in and it just doesn't do anything. So apparently it has plus 5 volts, minus 12 volts, and plus 12 volts. Make sure the thing's turned on. See if I can get the 5 volt rail first. Here we go. 5 volts. Oh yeah, 5.1 volts. Nice. What else have we got? Minus 12 volts. This is minus 10. Minus 10 and a half. Maybe that's why it's too low. Maybe it's too low to power it. And plus 12 volts. Assuming 11. So looks like this power supply is not producing enough voltage. Yeah, 10.5 on the minus 12. So not a total disaster, but doesn't work. And one more bonus. This is another different A600 power supply, but it's the one actually I owned when, well, around mid-90s. So I don't know exactly. So it's probably about 25 years old. I believe this one does still work. This one still powers my Amiga. So let's give this one a quick test. 5.1 and negative 12 volts. So that's minus 10. So that's very similar to the other one. And plus 12. 11.2. So this is incredibly similar to the one that doesn't appear to work. So the other one that's not working hasn't got a voltage problem. It must have some other problem. This one's definitely more functional. More investigation required.